hello, everyone. Happy Friday. Good morning, John. Good morning, Jacob. Good morning, Patrick. Yeah, it's a week's flown by. Good morning, Mark. Good morning, Sterling. Thanks for putting in some of the earnings things. Good morning, Heinrich. Good morning, Royal Palms. This is going to be a shorter session. Something popped up I have to deal with the family situation. So, just didn't want to leave everybody hanging this morning. Let's get right into it. If you could also put up some of Bowman's comments, Sterling, if you have a chance, if you did see those, thanks. Thank you, Royal Palms. Again, I'm going to be a little rushed this morning. I actually have to go deal with a fairly substantial issue. So, sorry about that. Life happens, though. Life happens. Let's see. We had core PCE. We have PCE prices coming out this morning. Pretty much in line with consensus, although some of these are higher than prior. So inflation's still not heading down. Inflation's still stickier. And then we had Bowman speaking and saying that, I'm paraphrasing, but there's still rate cuts expected, but have to be gradual and measured because inflation's sort of getting a little stuck. We also have personal income rising 0.4. But personal spending, and these are December numbers, so it could be holiday related, but at 0.7. So people spending a lot more than they're earning still. That's why you see credit card balances continuing to go up. Year over year for the PCE, 2.6. And the core was, what was it? We're doing, 2.8. So not close to that 2% target yet. Is that the new floor? I mean, if they hit that for a month, if they declared victory, and then if it pops back to 3 or 3.5%, is it like, oh, that's fine. It's transitory. Transitory. How long does transitory last, by the way? Current policy, good place for the Fed to monitor data, be clear on the economic impact of Trump administration policies before moving rates again. So, yeah. Hello, Charles. Good morning, Ted. All right. Again, this is going to be a shorter session for the people joining late. I have to deal with a family situation. Apple earnings, which was a beat, but again, Tim Cook. Oh, geez. iPhone sales in China were horrible. iPhone sales are dropping overall. This was not a strong earnings report. Yes, it was a beat, but they have single-digit revenue growth, and they're trading like close to 38. Now, this can keep going. They could eke out new highs, yeah. So I'm no longer looking for rollover plays, especially up 4% after earnings, not triggering the double top. So, going to be patient on that one. But again, the market's just paying outrageous sums of money for single-digit earnings growth from Apple. What else do we have? Let's see. Bowman. First quarter data is important to how quickly inflation will improve going forward. So yes, I mean Bowman's slightly, I wouldn't call it hawkish, but saying less dovish than a lot of the rest. In terms of the groups, let's refresh this. Technology with Apple running, leading it higher, and consumer defensive. So not much besides everything rotating into technology comm services again, but rotating out of consumer defensive today. So it's definitely a risk on day to cite the mainstream media. We still have the pause for March and it's still in neutral mode. Schiller PE 38.28 with the not so dirt cheap markets. We also had Intel and FISA. FISA was a beat and still going through the moon. Intel, I think, missed on revenue but beat on EPS. Not much to talk about there. And Sterling put in ExxonMobil, which missed on revenue. And there's some other stuff like Colgate, Palmolive, and other things, but nothing market moving. Good morning, Rangers. So, a couple things I want to point out. What we've been talking about, daily cycles. We finally broke yesterday. See here, we held that key level yesterday in the morning. Remember the one I talked about, 6108, 6107, held it, rejected there, rejected in the afternoon. Then you see it turned, this is exactly what I watch for. See how we based here, and then it turned into support, and now we've run up. So that's my key support level back at 6108. I'll bump it up just a hair at this point. Oops, not that one. I don't want to have to draw a new line. It's on top of another one. Shoot. We'll just know it's bumped up a little. I'll have to deal with that later. If we did break through below there, the next key support is 6,100. And then there's major support now down at 60.65. I'm still expecting this to run. Again, we have daily cycles turning up. We're holding the rotation zone again. See, every dip gets bought. So I'm still expecting at least the gap fill, maybe not today, depending on how we open, but at least the gap fill at 61.3325. Then at this point, the next key level for me is about 61.54, 61.55, and then potentially the new highs and the next harmonic up there. Also remember, weekly still climbing, so we could get into next week will be a top. A top. So IBM they had pretty decent earnings this time. We don't cover that here much, but they did. NASDAQ still climbing. Still climbing, still going to be watching with the NASDAQ, although the NASDAQ is coming into a very curious support, but going to be watching over the next couple days for at least the gap fill back to 21,911.25 and the descending channel line. Descending channel line in that. Also at this point, you see how that level held and then was confirmed with support. So that's reconfirmed 21,695 roughly. 21,695 area is my key support. If we drop below there, we're looking at 21,600. And then major support now is at 21,460. Again, cycles climbing on the daily and still heading up on the weekly. But the NASDAQ, I'm looking at the S&P still first for leadership on the way up. The Dow finally tacked off the 87.5 rule, so that is complete. Doesn't mean it has to stop here, but Dow major support is 44,750. Minor support is 44,890. Key resistance is just by the all-time highs. If it pushes up today, I'm looking at 45,300. Russell, again, quick session today. Sorry about that. 2284 is support. 2330 is resistance. VIX, again, back into no fear territory. So as long as we don't see a spike in that, we'll be watching this choppy with an upward bias. Yesterday we were definitely choppy and then turned into choppy with an upward bias. The DAX just keeps climbing, getting very overextended. But no topping pattern left in sight. If it keeps going, it's 22,100 is the next harmonic. Not much to talk about after the PCE with the notes. Still no real movement after triggering these sloppy head and shoulders. Is a double top still potentially in play? Yes, it is. So nothing's changed there. Inverse, a double bottom on the yields are still in play after triggering the horizontal neckline head and shoulders. But no movement there. We'll have to check in that next week. Dollar index, which we had the percent beat by. Little dip yesterday, but nothing. Remember, I said I was watching for the stop below the bar that set up the percent beat by, which would not come anywhere clear. Now my stop would be, this is a training purposes only, the stop for me would be below yesterday's low on a closing basis. Still watching very key 108.20, and then the very key level to really get the move on is 108.60. Crude, paying attention for a bottoming position, but nothing yet. If it does close above yesterday's high, it is technically a percent beat buy. I wouldn't do it until a Sunday night. Natty gas still continuing lower on the double top patterns. Next target 295 roughly. Gold eking out new all-time highs and pausing right here. So I'm using the prior harmonic, this 2825 as key support should we get a pullback, and then major supports at 2800 now. But there's no topping pattern there, no major topping pattern just yet. Silver also taking off yesterday. Hit the 87.5 today. So now looking at the bigger term one from the bigger retracement, the next key level it's got to close beyond is 33.11. Not going to cover some of these minor things right now. Yen, still watching. We do have a potential double bottom, but that's not close to triggering. And it's found pretty key support at this 154 level. But if it breaks there, we'll then continue to watch for the pullback. The only thing that gets me short-term bullish is if we get above this trend line and then trigger the double. Euro, after triggering the very sloppy inverse head and shoulders pattern, not getting any traction. That's why I'm really starting to focus on the dollar continuing to rise, and this could be a failed pattern. Spiders, we still have the gap behind at 607.97. So on any push up, that's what I'm watching today for the gap fill. The key support is coming in around 606.60, which is yesterday's high. And then if we roll over from there, 605.04 to the gap fill. The Qs, you still have the gap fill left behind to 529.63. So on any bullish play, that's what I'm watching. The key support coming in at 526.10, which was yesterday's highs. And if we roll over from there, I watch for the gap fill from 523.05. So, a couple other things I wanted to point out. RSP, which is the equal weight ETF for the S&P 500, yesterday closed above the 62.5. So on an equal weight basis, we could still see the probabilities have shifted to retest possibly 184.40 and 186 levels. I'm keeping an eye on that because this market could continue to run higher for longer. The equal weight NASDAQ, which again has gotten back above the 62.5, never invalidated the pattern, has a potential little mini double top. Okay? So that's the only thing that would shift me more bearish on the NASDAQ. If this starts breaking down really and triggers this mini double top, could take it back to the 200 again. Other than that, going to still watch for at least it to tack off the 87.5 harmonic, which is 8,061.61. So I'm still leaning with the S&P and NASDAQ higher prices, but if it stalls out on the equal weight on the NASDAQ at this 87.5, I'll be more watching with the futures to roll over closer to the upper channel line. Just the little things I wanted to point out to everybody that I'm keeping a very close eye on. Bitcoin, nothing to talk about. Apple with earnings, which was a beat yesterday. No double, it never triggered or confirmed. Watch today for if it follows through with the close above 244.83 because that would shift the probabilities, and there's a couple gaps left behind. Namely, one right around the 75% harmonic and one around the 87.5 harmonic. So with the market still cycles going up, could we run higher for longer in Apple? Yeah, and retest and set up a massive weekly double top pattern? Yes. So I, again, would not be aggressively shorting Apple until there's another topping pattern in it again. NVIDIA has a potential double bottom that may never trigger against the 200 area. That's the only thing that would make me bullish in the short term on there. Avco's Broadcom has retested the key breakdown level, so I'm paying close attention to this to see if it can regain it or not. Yeah, we'll have to cover some of these other things next week. With that, I'm seeing Tesla still holding the channel line and the 50. So that is very key. If we start closing below 385, I'm going to be looking for retracements in that and possibly back to the 200. But until that breaks, nothing to do there from my perspective. All right, I have to wrap this up for now. Sorry to rush it on a Friday, but I didn't want to just not show up. And I wanted to point out the key things I was looking at. Hope that helps everybody. I will be back again on Monday. Next Friday, I probably won't be a live stream. And then the following week, I am moving at the beginning of the week. I know there won't be one on Tuesday, but it's not going to be as big a move as last year, but there's still going to be, I'm going to have to tear down all my equipment and set it back up. So there's going to be at least 1, if not 2 days where it'll not be streamed. So I'm sorry for that, but I have to take care of these things. And then hopefully we will have a lot more stability in the next couple weeks. With that, thanks, Jake. Thanks, Charles. You everyone have a great weekend. Enjoy the weekend of non-football before the Super Bowl. So, she'll talk to everyone later. Bye for now.